everybody to Valhalla Verdict. This is going to be a show where AJ and I sit down and talk about esports that happened over the last couple weeks. But since it's our first episode, we're going to go over the most recent tournament, Trial of Skadi, and then we're going to go over the community tournaments that just happened this weekend.
Yeah, and there's been a lot that's happened. You know, you have Trial of Skadi, that's been the most recent Brawlhalla major. You know, it's for every single region. You know, and a lot of these regions, such as North America, EU, and South America, are trying to get their placements towards the spring royale that's happening and coming up soon.
Yep.
So you have I know Southeast Asia. We'll talk about them, and I think did MENA have a Trial of Skadi event?
They didn't have. Well, they did have one. It was way earlier in the. It was way earlier in the year, though.
Oh, okay.
But we do have an MEN event actually coming in this month, so we'll be talking about that later in the series. But anyway, I'm Conspiracy. This is AJ, and let's just get into it. So we've got Trial of Skadi here. We're going to be talking about the major first that happened earlier this month, and we're going to go over the Southeast Asia tournament first. So looking at this bracket, it was actually kind of insane, dude.
Yeah.
We've got Himway took the whole tournament, right? We've got Keith the Poo Poo making a huge run in losers bracket, taking out some pretty crazy names.
Yep.
But he also brought himself to top 8 winner's side first before losing to the Plum, which was one of the people that we were talking about.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah, and the Plume, I mean, I have never really heard of them from Southeast Asia until this event. And even, I mean, I casted this on the main Brawlhalla channel as well, and the Plume was just going at it. I mean, went through Keith in the winner's side, lost to Himway, but you know, it's Himway, so you know, gotta give yourself some credit there. But you know, beating basically second seed at this event, Keith. Yeah. And then going into loser side, facing Keith again, losing to him though, but still getting that top 3 is very vital for the Plume. And then you had Keith, like you said, going through the loser side, going through Mickelson, Serenity, going through the Plume, and then going into Game 5 against Himway in the grand finals there. So overall, I mean, there were some pretty good names, and one of the names that you brought up a little bit earlier.
Oh yeah, Bagus.
Was Bagus.
Yeah,
got
Bagus. Now Bagus, what were we saying? It was he at one point. I mean, he's an NA. He was an NA player for a while. Yeah. And then went to SEA, to Southeast Asia on a trip. Played and got 4th. Yeah. Or something like that. And then came back to NA and now is back there, potentially to live there maybe. And then is doing insane in their tourneys, top 8ing, which is super cool to see. It's like the NA diff, right?
Yeah. And there's a lot of conversation regarding the skill difference between different regions and stuff like that. And when you have Bagus, who was top 32ing, going in SEA and getting top 4, top 8, that's a big deal when it comes down to that conversation. So either way, Bagus did very, very well. I was very proud of them for getting that top 8. You had Mickelson come in there, beating Gupungyo, doing some very interesting things as well. I loved their play style when I casted it. And they did pretty well. Serenity beating Bagus, and then you had Keith. Yeah, 3-1-ing.
Keith on Loki, and then switching off, which was interesting. Switched off to switch off on Win, going to Thor, losing on Thor, and then going to Azuri. That's super interesting.
Confidence.
Yeah, I guess.
He was winning on Loki as a pocket pick, as a random thing to throw out, and it worked against Mickelson, and then picked up that Thor a little bit. I think during this tournament there was a lot of Scythe. Yeah. And I think he was like, oh, let's play some Scythe, let's play some Guitars, because Guitars is what they're known for. And, they went to that Thor as a random pick. They lost on that. And they're like, okay, I'm not allowing it to happen again. It became an Azuri ditto. And Mickelson actually did pretty well against Keith. But overall, I mean, Keith won that set, did very, very well going into that. And, Keith played a variety of different characters. It was very interesting to kind of see.
I'm sure. But yeah, so that was Southeast Asia tournament. For Trial of Skadi. And if you don't really understand how this year of esports is functioning, basically we have these trials that have been running throughout the winter circuit, which with Trial of Skadi, we just completed the winter circuit. Next, we're moving on to the summer circuit for the second half of the year. But the winter circuit is now complete. Now, during those majors, excluding Southeast Asia for Trial of Skadi, we're going to have a point system for South America, Europe, and North America. And the top players well, not even necessarily top players, but everybody gets points, right? Or a decent amount of people get points. But how you place, depending on it, you get points. And if you get enough points, up to the top 4 of each region, I think, right? You will hit your Royale threshold, which basically means that if you get enough points, you get flown out by good old Blue Mammoth Games out to Atlanta, Georgia. And you get to participate right before mid-season, which is CEO in Daytona, Florida, and you get to participate in the Royale, and we get to see who's going to be the best right before we go into a major LAN event, which will be really cool.
Yeah, and you know, we kind of saw what we're going to be looking into, expecting going into the Royale, right? This is the event before the Royale. This is what is going to be giving us a prediction of what's happening in the Royale. But you know, you have these different regions that haven't been able to spar against each other. It's still going to be chaos, but we can get at least a tad bit of an idea. And you know, I thought we were going to have a tad bit of an idea when it came down to try out Skadi for South America.
And not really, no.
No. And I mean,
we did have some interesting names rolling up in the bracket, but honestly, it was quite expected what happened. I mean, Kaina and Yuz are kind of a toss-up right on who might take over the region today. And Yuz, of course, took it, but Kaina looks like they got 3rd. With Lores beating them 3-1.
Yeah, okay.
And then we swapped into grand finals, which was Yuz obviously on the Greatsword and Lores obviously on the Kaya. Both characters very well known for these players. And I'm sure that was a really awesome match to watch. It really looked like Lores was about to take it onto a grand final reset until Yuz finally figured out what they needed to do, and he ended up having a crazy 3-0 game 5 or a three games in a row type thing, which is definitely an amazing event to watch.
Well, it's kind of funny too, because I mean, with Yuz, you know, a lot of these top players that win the events, a lot of times they'll lose the first 2 on purpose because that's how confident they are.
Yeah. It's almost like they lose just so they know like what their opponent like has up their sleeve, so they can learn. Yeah. And then they're like, all right, I got it from here.
Right. Let's take it. Let's take the full 5 games. You know, I'm willing to go through that. And Yuz is a powerful player, especially with where Jaeyoon's at right now. He's going to do very well, but you know, and the main thing that kind of got me off guard with this event was this was an upset tournament, in my opinion. It was probably one of the more fun events. Yeah, so going in top 32, I mean, we had, you know, West getting knocked out early. We had Sack getting knocked out,
which was insane. Yeah. Like if you look, like Sack got knocked out by Reaper Black. It looks like C knocked out Power 3-0. 3-0, by the way. We've got Lopez losing to Mac. We've got West losing to Kant 3-2, game 5. Fiend beating Kaido, which is more than likely expected. And then looks like going into top 8, C took out Kant, who had just beaten West, which is just insane if we continue looking into that. Like Fiend losing to Kaina 3-1. And then going down to loser's side, Vem losing to Reaper Black going into top 8. Power taking over Fiend. Sack losing to Mac. And I just love the names. Sack and Mac. And then Thife. Is that how you say it?
Thipe, yeah.
Thipe and beating Kant 3-1. So there was some major things happening in this bracket.
Well, and even looking at some of the other matches before round 4, look, Power and West happened. Lopez and Vem Tequilo happened.
And Vem won 3-1. And then like it's so crazy to see like what like a game you would think would be in like top 8 happened before the last round of loser side to top 8. Like what is happening here?
It was funny because when I was looking at that set, it reminded me it's band player versus band player. They were both banned at one point, and they had to face each other in bracket, and Vem really showed his prowess there. And, and I'm sure they sparred each other when they were both banned, more likely. Of course, so you know, this is how it is. But you know, and Vem's good. You know, Vem's a very good player, and so is Lopez. I think they each have their moments though when it comes down to. They're really good, but then at certain points they just have a rough time really adapting.
Yeah, Lopez was one of the ones that wasn't banned recently, right?
Yeah, Lopez was the most recent.
And everybody was kind of having a situation where it was like, Lopez is about to take over South America. With South America already being as dominant as it was, everybody was like, y'all aren't ready for Lopez. But hey, like this is trial of Skadi, and Lopez was out pretty early for expectation for them to be taking over the region.
Well, I think with Lopez, he did have a really good event. It was before Skadi. I don't remember which event it was, but he got like 5th or something like that, top 3, wherever it was.
Which is crazy to see how heavy the competition is in South America right now.
Yeah, and it's all based off the balanced patches happening on that game. It's always very unique, which is really cool. So, you're going to have players swap around a little bit, but for this big of a swap for South America, that was huge. But there really wasn't a whole lot of swap when it came down to Europe, though, if I recall.
Oh, yeah, no. So Europe was actually Europe with Godly taking over as usual. But there were some really crazy runs that I definitely want to mention. We've got Skeldra that made, I think, like an 8-set run through top 32 losers and got
awesome.
2nd place. Like, Skeldra absolutely demolished everybody he was on the way through, except for Knees and Monir, who he did end up taking to game 5. And these are actually some interesting games I want to glance at. I mean, obviously Skeldra was rocking Jayan throughout the whole tourney. Knees was on Fate, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And then Monir actually seemed to have made some swaps. We went from Val to Taros, and actually took a game with Taros, but seems like Skeldra adapted quite well to that situation and moved right up to grand finals, ended up getting 3-0 by Godly.
Which, I mean, Skeldra definitely did very well. And we were talking about it a little bit earlier, too, where, I love the personality of the guy. He's very, very good in that sense. And seeing him do so well and, have this momentum behind him was awesome to see. You don't see that every day. You don't see someone come from loser side of top 8 and go all the way into grands, because it's a lot of work and a lot of effort. So, but in top 32, I mean, we saw Godly Pavelski was on stream. I remember that. That was the first match. That was the first match on stream.
Godly Pavelski. That was awesome. But of course, Godly takes those. And then of course, Godly takes Banya. Akno barely getting through Rain for top 8 spot, which is awesome to see. Akno is consistently keeping his top 8 status, even though Akno used to be in Godly's position, right? Akno used to be, like, a few years ago, it was like nobody's beating Akno. Like, you might as well, nobody's beating Akno, but now Akno is definitely getting a run for his money in these tourneys. You got Frydazol and Knees. Of course, Knees takes those, but I think Fry actually did end up getting top 8 through loser side, so that's really good for him. And then Skeldra had lost to Monir, for which Skeldra had to get put down to losers and 3-2'd Marker. And it looks like that was back and forth, which is really scary against a guy like Marker, who has a much more passive play style.
It's cool. I liked, Marker's been doing pretty well too. I mean, he went through S-Crate, then went and beat Jal as well. And I think another person that we really have to consider with this event is Rika beating Dejesser 3-2, and also beating Fizaru. I mean, those are some very, very powerful players. Fizaru is very viewed at the most recent event before this. I think it was Balder, a lot, because they were beating big names. And he was beating people so badly that people were thinking he was cheating. There was a whole thing about it, which, I mean, we can definitely go into detail a little bit later, but, he had like a fake, like he just had like a an app open that it didn't do anything. It just showed like a web page.
I think I remember seeing some stuff about
it was funny because people thought he was cheating off of that. He was like, they were thinking it was, I forget what the name of the program was, but it wasn't anything.
Like a deck spot or something.
They thought it was like a hack client, that would read dodges.
But really, the guy's just goated, and he's just going crazy. Yeah. So that's good to hear at least.
Yeah.
I guess they beat the allegations, and it's always actually super cool. Like, imagine if you're like a top player and you just pop off out of nowhere, and you're doing so well that people think you're cheating. Like that's like such a crazy come up story. So it sounds like that's kind of the story that happened here. But I mean, going into a little more, Blaze losing his top 8 spot to Bamya, which is interesting. I mean, Blaze is normally like a big 2v2 player, and definitely has a lot of legends in their pocket. Mostly Axe, right? Yeah. And like the Ulgrim that Blaze is really known for. But it looks like the Bryn didn't work, and then the Azuri didn't work, and then we just went straight into Zol. And Zol almost worked. It was like a mirror match, and it almost worked, but it didn't get him that top 8 spot. But no, Europe definitely showed out for this event, but of course Godly takes those. And I think during the North America event, they even pulled him on for a phone call, almost, basically.
Well, and with that interview, it was a lot about how he's struggling figuring out how to spar against other regions. You know, he wasn't really like bashing EU, which is good. I think that's definitely a good point to really have. He's still really good. He still says he's better than a good portion of people, but he's not saying like, he's not trashing his other players that he's facing, which is great. You don't see that a whole lot.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to Godly, you know, he did pretty well. He's just trying to find that sparring opportunity is going to be difficult. I mean, he's 3-0'd Skeldra.
Yeah. It's like Godly is like in this mode where he's like, the Sandstorm tweet they also brought up during that broadcast where Sandstorm had tweeted and he said like EU, like Godly is bored of EU. Yeah. He's bored of everybody in EU, and that's why he was probably super excited to have this opportunity to be able to go to the Royale and go against other players and get good practice, because obviously he has before. He's been at more LANs in the past, so there's practice there, but practice that's old, that is that old only lasts for so long.
You know, he might have to show up a week early, because that's what I mean. That's what you know. That's what the South American guys have to do because of their visas and stuff. Why not get that opportunity of him showing up a week early, practicing against South American guys, and then practice against the NA guys as they show up? That'd be huge for him.
Yeah, that'd be huge for any player.
And I think he would view that very well. But you know, with that being said, you know, Godly is going to be coming over to North America to play at CEO, and with North America being where it's at, I'd say it's an okay spot. You know, I think
they're doing all right. I mean, according to Trial of Skadi, looks like Sandstorm is running up the region again, going back into his what people like to call his prime. Yeah. But one thing that I really wanted to specifically talk about was this run that happened in Trial of Skadi for Sandstorm. Yeah. Because if we go back to, what was it, Boulder?
Yeah.
We go back to Trial of Boulder, which was, I think it was the major that happened before this one. It was it was last month or something like that.
100%.
Grichbo took the W for that one. And the interesting part about that is that Sandstorm did not attend that event. He didn't sign up, or maybe he signed up, but he wasn't there. He didn't play. So it's so funny to see Gui. The only person that he lost to in the bracket was on winner's side top 8, losing to Sandstorm. Goes into losers, and he 3-2s Anime, 3-1s Bunny, 3-2s Radish, goes up to grand finals, and then gets 3-0'd by Sandstorm. It's like Sandstorm is the only person that can beat Gui right now.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, I think Radish and Sandstorm could definitely are those runner-ups. You know, I think with Radish taking Gucci to game number 5, with him on the Red Raptor too, I'm glad he's going to the Royale because he kind of gives his perspective with the Red Raptor. You have Gucci with this brand new perspective on guitars and the aggressiveness with them.
With new dash being super prominent with that weapon.
Well, he's mastered that with that weapon, and it's huge, and no one's really adjusted to it. And then outside of Sandstorm, that's pretty much been it. You know, Sandstorm has been going very well with the Mordex and whatever else he's been playing with. So, you know, I can't wait to see, you know, how it goes. Gucci is definitely a runner-up for the Royale. You got Sandstorm as well, and then you got Radish who's there as well. And also, you know, you got players such as Bunny doing very well now.
Oh, Bunny's run was so good,
It was very good.
Bunny's run, and Bunny in general has been doing such a good job. Like, Bunny is 5th in points, by the way, for the Royale. Got 5th in points. Now, like I said earlier, you need to be in the top 4 to get a Royale ticket. And there was actually a question of whether Gui was able to go to this Royale, because Gui has not really been to any LAN events. He's more of a private person in general. So him there was the question of whether or not he was able to. I think there was also some passport visa issues with him potentially not being able to do it, but it has been confirmed. But if Gui wasn't able to go, Bunny would have gone. So if Bunny would have just done a little bit better in a couple of tournaments in the past, then she probably would have been able to make it into the Royale. So that's really cool to see how close that was for that change to have happened. But Bunny's run was amazing. I'm curious where in top 32 actually Bunny had made it. We also had Balloon Boy and Impala in lower top 8.
Yeah, my boys faced each other at winners quarters. Balloon Boy, Anonymous, Alex had I think a game 5 situation happened there. And
Balloon Boy and Anonymous. Yep.
Yeah, those are my guys, man. Those are the guys that I love watching the most, because a lot of them, those guys specifically, I know for a fact started really in the events that I ran. And they went through the runs, they got known through those events, and now they're going crazy in majors. Yep. I love seeing that. And and overall though, I mean, Gucci faced Impala in quarters, 3-1 them. That was an interesting matchup because that was the first time we saw anyone counter Impala's mutant. Because he went through Meg D 3-0.
The match right before it?
Yeah, 3-0'd Meg D. Ooh. And that was a big upset.
Well, see, now, Meg D was also kind of throwing, let's be real here.
Well, he just didn't know.
The core.
Oh, yeah.
He was on the core and the Giro, and I've heard plenty of people talking about his run right there, just like, oh, Meg D totally threw. And I know that Meg D had made a post on Twitter after that where he was like, I'm experimenting with different picks. So this match could have been completely different if Meg D was actually like focused up on Val or maybe a Surrey that he's been running in other tournaments. But with that being said, I mean Meg D very obviously was trying to push these picks, and Impala absolutely just demolished him. Said, "No, like you're not playing these characters."
Yeah, I respect Meg D a lot because he's thinking about the long-term battle of LAN rather than on lines. Like on lines, you could do whatever, but he needs to have those picks available to him. So if one doesn't work at LAN, he has other options to go to. So core, Juro may be an option. Those didn't work out. But yeah, we'll definitely be pretty good to kind of see how things go out. CC Legit got top 32. That was a big
CC Legit also did get top 32. Cyclone, Soul, Hexo.
Yeah, so Hexo's a newer player that's come in. Guys seem to do pretty well. They did pretty well in a couple of different community events, which we'll get into. But overall, a pretty decent player, he's kind of coming into the scene a little bit more in top 32 and beating some big names, so it's good to see, but glad to see him. And, I'm looking at losers losers qualifiers to get in the top 8. Balloon Boy versus Zinker. Mm-hmm. Balloon Boy has a read on him. I don't know what it was.
It's Bracket Demon, dude. The Zariel versus the Koji, and Zinker is the definition of a Koji one trick. Mm-hmm. But that's what makes him the GOAT on that character. But he definitely just got straight 3-0'd. But Zinker definitely had an interesting run. I mean,
beat Monty. Oh, that was such a good game. I remember streaming that Zinker versus Valhalla. That was
we had Zinker versus Access, and then Zinker versus CC Legit, who was taken out pretty deep into top 32. Right, that's a really good run for CC Legit. And then beating Valhalla, and then right on to Balloon Boy.
Yeah, but that game 5, that game 5 between Zinker and Monty was such a close game. It was down to like red on final stock.
That's nice.
They were doing very well. You had Anime kind of be that gatekeeper for Truck. I always say with Anime, he doesn't get higher than 8th very high in majors. He's almost a gatekeeper to top 8. He's either 9th or he's 7th. Yep. And he prevents people from getting into that top 8. He's that guardian of the top 8.
He's the guardian. I like that.
And then
but he did end up making top 8, and then took out Balloon Boy, and then was taken out by Gui, who was obviously his only game in a Sandstorm. So
for sure.
But no, that was a really cool event, and that's pretty much it for what happened with Trial of Skadi. And of course, we got our confirmations with this tournament for being 100% sure and having our tickets set out for everybody that's going to the Royale come this month. I think it's the weekend of May. What did you say, 16th?
I think May 16th. It's when the events. That's like midweek. I think it's that weekend, but 17th and 19th.
Whatever that weekend is there, but so that'll be a really interesting event, and I'm super excited for it because we've got some interesting people that are going to be going there. So
yeah, I mean, we've got good representation of North America, EU. I don't really know outside of Skeldra and Godly. I don't really know who else is going, but more than likely probably Knees or someone on those lines. So pretty good representatives of each region. Now this comes down to seeing how Blue does land.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be an interesting one too. But
because we've never really seen that before. I don't even know what the guy looks like, but we'll find out what he looks like. We'll know. Yep, they'll have him on camera. But anyway, so that's what happened, or that's what happened a few weeks ago, right? So now we're headed to what literally just happened this weekend, over a community tournament weekend. One of my events was actually this weekend, so we'll talk about my event. But we've got community tournaments, right? So if you didn't know, majors aren't the only thing that happened. Like, there's community tournaments almost every weekend, which is kind of the point of us breaking this down for you guys, because him and I pay attention to this all the time.
A little bit
so probably a little too much. So here we've got the Bearded Brawls, which is a Slow Motion's event. I'm sure you guys have seen Slow Motion casting as well, but he's also a tournament organizer. He's a Tier 1 organizer, and he ran an event for the West Coast specifically.
Yeah, and you know, it's definitely, I mean, I was talking about it a little bit earlier as well. You know, you have US East and you have US West. The United States is so big enough where it has two sections within the United States. So you have US East, US West. US East is the primary one because there's not a lot of players on the West for it to be its own region. It's I believe I think it's bigger than Australia but smaller than SEA. So I think it's very hard for players to grow on West. They all go to East to practice.
And they lag.
And they lag a lot. And then you know, Slow Motion wanted to bring, you know, West a tournament to see how they would do and get practice without lag on the region. So
and it seems to have gone quite interesting. Looks like Wubs took the dub. Which is actually wild considering that Seabass is usually to be considered the best player in that region. And I know that I actually, we ran another event that happened this weekend. It was a crew battle, and we did have a couple of West players. We had Adam Cool and Silver Slayer, and they were playing in the event that I had ran for crew battles instead of this one. And the only reason they played in my event is because they didn't know about this one. So this bracket could have been a little bit different if they had played. But of course we have Seabass hitting second place, and they seem to have gone to a game 5, which is super, super interesting. And it looks like Seabass kind of trolled a little bit and tried to go back to Wubs' original Dusk play, which is what he was trying to go for. And it's like Seabass was playing Taros, right? And then he switched off to Dusk, and it's almost like it's because Wubs was playing Dusk, so he was trying to mess with him.
He was trying to mess with him a little bit, and then I think, you know, Wubs kind of challenged that Ditto and was like, you know what, I will play this, I will beat you on it. It happened, and then I think Seabass was not expecting that win, where it threw him off a little bit, to the point where game 5 happened, and Wubs just came in and beat that Taros again and got what he needed to win. And there was a little bit of Twitter beef happening. I remember that was a thing. You know, you had Wubs saying that he dunked that tournament, then Seabass calling him shit, you know, and it was just this little thing on Twitter that went back and forth, just banter, you know, nothing crazy.
Oh, but Seabass is just known for banter. Like, if anybody talks bad about him, he's like, MM? Question mark? Money match? He's like, money match me? So Seabass is just known for bantering back and forth with any player ever, but it's just it's friendly competitiveness. He obviously got shown up this time around against Wubs, and usually like Wubs is the guy who would lose to Seabass, so it's actually pretty cool to see that this happened.
So it's cool, and Wubs is a good player, man. He did pretty well at BCX last year that I remember, and you know, he beat some major players from different regions.
And Seabass almost beat Sandstorm.
I remember that. It was a game 5, right?
Yeah, it was a game 5 at it was either Dallas or San Diego, probably San Diego. But yeah. Anyways, Hexo, like we were talking about earlier, a newer player. Looks like they rocked into top 8 pretty well into the loser side, but they had gotten top 32 in the North American trial with Skadi. Got pretty far into it. Not top 8, top 32, right? Top 32. And looks like getting top 8 in a community event is super awesome, especially for West. So it looks like we have some prominent players on the West side.
Yeah, I think a lot is coming down to we having a lot of these new players come in, you know, kind of trying to grow a little bit. And I think North America has a lot of growth opportunity. The problem is there has to be the opportunity given to them. You know, with a lot of players, they like to. It happened for a while in North America, not as much now, but it used to be like tech holding. You know, they didn't want people finding out tech that they knew about. And the problem is it held back the region. It happened in South America a little bit with Hughes, with the Jaeun, and now South America's kind of dealing with this problem of who's actually on top and who's not. And now when it comes down to North America, it happens all the time in North America where they're holding tech. A lot of the top players do. I don't think Sandstorm pretty much, I don't think he holds tech a little bit. He does a little bit, but not like crazy.
He's got his own play styles, I'm sure, but
he's like
most of the stuff that he does is always just like random ahead of the curve type things. That's really how he was reigning champion for so long.
He's reigning champion now.
Still talking about North America. We have Galaxy Cup Andromeda, which is run by our good friend Spaceatronics. Normally he takes over the EU scene, but him and I actually decided to switch it up this every couple or every few months. We're going to be switching it up. So he took over North America. Next month I'm taking it back. But I also took EU, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But looks like Gui took over this event. And usually he's a community tournament grinder anyway, so it's not surprising to see him in top 8, but especially winning over Megd. And I think Megd actually mirror matched him on the Lin Fei.
Yeah.
And it's funny too because Megd is also generally known for that Azuri pick sometimes.
Yeah.
You have obviously the Val, but the Azuri has always just been a random pocket pick for Megd to be able to pull out against something that's unusual. Katars are just always good, but Katars aren't necessarily always good against the guy who is the Katar GOAT right now, which is Gui.
And he's also not just a guitar, but more so cannons too. Like his cannon's really good. Like guitars are what he's pulling out now because that's what's working. But his cannon, he's been known for zero-dosing people with that cannon and going crazy. You know, and going against Megd and Megd's Azuri getting smacked up a little bit, you know, that's a big deal. I don't know, did he pull a Val out? No, he pulled Juro out.
He had. So the first game that they played was in Winners Final, and he got knocked down to loser side. He was initially playing Juro, and then he was knocked down after he had tried Azuri for 2 matches, and it didn't work out for him. And it looks like he was actually playing Lin Fei earlier in the tournament, so it wasn't necessarily a salt pick against Gui. He was actually playing Lin Fei against Pierre and beat Pierre 3-1 from Lin Fei to the Raptor. And Pierre had then gone down to beat Marky Moo and then lose to Anime.
Well, and Megd, you know, he's trying, like he even said, like he's trying new characters before the big event for LAN, because that's a lot of money on the line. He doesn't care about these online events. He's willing to try whatever character's out there, whatever's working in tournament, and see how it is. And the Juro he thought was going to work. No. Azuri worked you know, and then, you know, the Lin Fei pick against Guichibu wasn't the greatest option in the beginning. Then he went in Grand Finals and picked it up, and they were keeping up with Guichibu, but they weren't keeping up enough to be able to win. So overall, Guichibu won that game, Megd got second. Anime kind of sparked a little bit of energy in him in that event. You know, he got third.
3-0 over Zinker, 3-1 over Pierre. Going to Game 5 with Megd. Earlier in that bracket, it looks like we were on winner's side, but losing to Gui, who won the tourney. So it's okay to lose there. And then only losing to first and second place. I mean, that's how the cookie crumbles. It's cool.
Yeah.
And so it looks like Anime did pretty solid. And of course, oops, what did I just do? No. Oh, it's fine. We moved over. It looks like we had
Zinker and Monty again.
Yeah, Zinker and Monty again in this tourney. Bunny absolutely soaring straight through top 8. Who did Bunny actually lose to in top 8?
I think to Pierre. Because, no, Zinker.
Zinker. Nice.
Okay, so,
That's
Zinker
interesting.
Zinker did pretty well against Bunny. Bunny was playing around too much. I remember that, because I remember they kept knocking themselves out. Yep. I remember that entirely.
They switched to Koji too. I don't know why. I don't know why Bunny was switched to Koji. That's a little bit of a weird play on the Bunny side, being.
I mean, it worked one game.
A Rayman player.
It
worked one game. Yeah, but who knows? It could have been fluke.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was pretty much NA. That's where we're standing with NA. Looks like Gui and Java, Sandstorm, and I forget the fourth. But they're all on top. They're headed to Royale, and you know, Radish. And those are the people we got in NA that are absolutely dominating. It seems at the moment. But there's definitely some people that are just right behind them, like Meg D and Anime. So
yeah, and I think as well, another player we're keeping an eye on for North America is Marky Moo. He got 5th at event for Space Tournaments.
Ooh, he did.
So the problem is he isn't as consistent though yet. Like he either goes crazy or he's in that mental state where he has to get used to being in these positions.
Yep.
He reminds me a lot of what Radish was, or a lot of these other players that came in.
Mm-hmm.
They have to get used to their placements first, and then usually once they get a new high placement, they fail right away. And then I think him getting high in here is getting more comfortable in 5th place range. That way, once he's comfortable, he can then shoot for the placement above, and that's how people build up. They usually build up. They try something crazy, shoot down, go back up, and then get that rhythm. So that's what players do, and I think, you know, Pierre's doing that now with his Red Raptor. He beat Marky Moo, but Marky Moo getting that 5th place. You know, you're having that stairway almost of consistency with these players playing these events and growing their placements, which is awesome. So
it is really cool, and somebody just slowly building themselves up is also really cool to see. So Marky Moo's one that, you know, we might see in top 8 over the summer circuit. We'll find out.
For sure. But like you said, that was North America. And now we're going to be talking about a little bit about SEA. SEA Showdown ran by NSig, which is comprises of Sandwick and Contrast happened. They ran their event over, I think, April 27th. And had a decent turnout for Southeast Asia. They did very well. I believe had more players than I think the major, which is
286 attendees is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But looks like Keith took the W here.
Yep.
And we had a crazy losers run
from
Urahara. Now this guy beats I can't pronounce these names. Yaponyo, and then Vader, and then Tiger, and then Himway.
The Himway surprises me a lot.
Himway won. Wait, who won Trial of Skadi? Himway?
Mm-hmm.
And what?
He beat the champion.
That's crazy. Like, he just beat the most recent major winner. Like, that's so awesome.
Yeah, that's an upset.
And unfortunately, it looked like we were looking at it earlier. Urahara didn't participate in the Trial of Skadi, but I feel like if they did, man.
They would have been crazy.
They would have been high, dude. They would have been up there. Looks like Tiger lost to Himway 3-0. And then Urahara beats Tiger.
But Tiger beats Sire, though. Sire, I'm surprised.
And Sire, yeah.
Sire's really good. Like, he's known for winning a couple different events, too. And, you know, he's being consistent top 8. But, you know, I expected him to kind of be that 3rd or 4th place. Mm-hmm. Right? So, excuse me. But I'm surprised he isn't there. But, you know, and Pugno got top 8. Vader got there. I don't know if Vader played in the SEA Skadi event. I don't remember that.
I didn't specifically see him, no.
But yeah, I mean, Southeast Asia, I mean, Keith is a powerful player for a reason. Like, he's very fun to watch.
Same
and,
with Himway.
You know, Himway's got a very unique style where it's very Taros-like. It's pretty much Taros for the most part. And then Urahara is kind of that new and upcoming player for Southeast Asia, so definitely got to be keeping an eye on him.
Normally it'd be Tiger in that spot right there.
Yeah.
Or
Sire.
Yeah. But Urahara, dude, play more. If you're watching this, play more tourneys because you have potential.
Yeah.
But yeah, so moving past SEA.
Yeah.
We've got the event that I ran, which was Frostbyte number 2 for EU, and we had some really cool stuff going here. We had a crazy winner of this event. It was shoes. You might know them as AH shoes in the past. Just changed to shoe or AH shoe. A shoe.
Yeah, as if you get the reference.
As if you sneeze. And then change to just shoes. Doing an insane losers run here. I was so happy. This is a really, really. This event was really sick. We've got going to top 32 winner side.
Yep.
We had shoes lose to Rain super early, right?
Yeah.
Which Rain then went to 3-1 S-Scrape straight to top 8. Machete taking top 8. Sarme beating Anubis, of course, to top 8. And then Bakonko beating Monir up to top 8.
And then Bakonko beat the Jesser 2-1 in top 8 too. That means yes, that was big. But it also was a game BO3. So he could have come back.
Yeah, so we were best of 3s pretty early until about losers round 4, which ended up being best of 5s. Now, DeJesser making his way over to S-Grape, and then S-Grape beating Adjustor 3-0. Marker beating the Leo 3-0. Shoes beating Monier 3-0. After the past 2 games of being in loser's side, he gets into top 8.
Yep.
And Anubis also got a top 8, which is pretty sick.
Well, hold up. Backverse beat Fazaru.
That's pretty cool too.
I don't know who Backverse is, but
Fazaru's a good player, so yeah, that's a cool name to see right here.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I don't think anyone else. I mean, that's pretty big, and especially for Sarme getting in the grands, that's huge. Beating Rain. Sarme is one of my favorite players to interact with.
Yeah.
And I as far as I'm aware, BCX was their last land, from what they told me. So now they're going crazy online. I would love to have them back at land. If they're doing this Bakonko and Rain, it's good, and I would love to see them back there again. And Rain's a powerful player too. I think we need to keep an eye on.
Rain, I actually have had to do my research on recently because they're going crazy to like PR7. Like where did this guy come from? But yeah. He's going insane, beating Machete 2-3, Sarme taking over Bakonko, and then Sarme beating Rain, and then going down to the loser side. Rain actually got 3rd place, so that's cool to see. And then losing to Shoes, of course, in 3rd place. But Sarme only took 1 game out of the 7 that they played throughout a grand final reset. Shoes took it straight all the way from that crazy losers run that we saw in top 32, all the way through the bracket right here, beating Anubis, beating Machete, beating Bakonko, and then beating Rain, and then beating Sarme 3-0 and then 3-1.
I like how it almost progresses for Shoes too. It's not like he's facing Machete, that's a big deal. Yeah. Then beating Bakonko, who did very well on winner's side, and then beating Rain, who was basically the winner's final guy.
Yeah.
And then going to grands against Sarme and just clearing the table for the most part. So that's very good. Also I gotta bring up Marker beat S-Grape 3-2.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah, that's a big.
Marker beating S-Grape is super huge right there, because S-Grape's a really good player. He
was at the Royale.
He was at a Royale, yeah. And because he's just done really, really well in past tourneys, but it looks like some people are finally catching up to the S-Grape wave.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing that Orion for a while, right? If I recall,
he was on Orion, and then he's definitely switched to different things as of recent. He's been on like Mirage, more Scythe, less Spear, less Lance. He's definitely, like you were talking about earlier, where you try new picks and then you fall back down, and then you figure it out, and then you come back up. This is probably the phase of S-Grape trying to figure out where his position is in terms of what he's able to play as a top player.
Yeah, and Anubis is another name I'll keep an eye on too. That's for them getting top 8 in that event. That's
Great sword player too.
Great sword, really?
Great sword player, yep.
I think I recognize him from Twitter, but outside of that though, I mean, Europe's got some contenders coming up. You had North America we talked about, but South America is on its own level right now, where it comes down to the pros that were smacking everyone at BCX last year are getting beat by people within the region.
Yep.
They're growing a lot more. I mean, you got the same top 3, but the top 8 and top 16 have changed drastically. And, we saw that major that happened, and now going into some of the community events that have happened, I believe this one was, I don't remember what date this was, April 28th. So this was after the major, I think? Yep, so after the major, you had another community event. South America's like, okay, things are changing. Let me see if I can be involved a lot more and have more upsets. So you're seeing C come in, beat Vecina, then beat Use, which is huge.
That is huge.
Dittoing them.
Beating Use is
beating
really
him
big.
on his own character.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, beating him on his own character.
No way. Okay, wait. So.
Oh, never mind. He lost one. I'm sorry.
Okay, so Use beat. Okay, so yeah, I think it might have been a salt pick. So it looks like we've got Cassidy. He won on Cassidy. Then he loses on Cassidy, and then he's like, man, Greatsword's broken. Okay, maybe Greatsword isn't broken. Switch to Azuri, and then he beats him, takes the next 2 games on Azuri.
Yeah.
Straight to game 4 or 5 and takes it through. But that's really, really cool to see C beating Use, who's a world champion, by the way. He's also considered to be one of the best players in South America, right beside Kaina. So you've got that. You've got...
Look at Scythe. Scythe beat Lopez. Oh,
he did. So that was who beat Lopez.
That's a big deal for South America. Lopez was kind of that like he was banned for a while over a couple of different things and got unbanned, and he was viewed as the prodigy for South America. And now we're even having people like Sipe come in beating him,
Yeah.
He's still good, don't get me wrong.
No, Lopez is actually an insane player, but that is really cool to see.
This means that the South America,
early.
Well, this means South America is growing as a region higher than what Lopez was, which is scary for NAEU.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, overall, Ray Riot beating Lores, that's a huge upset within itself.
And then beating Power.
Well,
no, sorry. He lost to Power.
Yeah.
But he actually went pretty far down here, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he beat Vicina.
He beat Vicina and got top 8 in this tourney, which is cool. I mean, it looks like your common actors are doing well here. It looks like Lores beats Hughes because Hughes lost early.
Look how he had to go through KCB in a VEM into Hughes and just get in the top 8.
Yep.
Hughes got 9th that event.
Wow.
Are you kidding me?
That's a world champion getting 9th in a community event. That's
insane. The most recent champion.
This is the most recent, yeah.
So, I don't know, but...
And Sack beating West in Winterside.
That's true.
And then West beating Pepe, and then going into top 8.
Dude, South America's got a lot of really good talent.
They have a lot of talent, dude. West took out Ray, and then took out Fiend, and then took out Lores, and then took out C, and then took out... Oh no, and then took out Power, and then took out Power again.
Yeah, West.
That is a crazy losers run. West went insane. West took that W. That's good.
Yeah, West did very, very well, and also Lores and Sipe happened. That was a game 5.
Yep.
Sipe, I think he's facing a lot of really good players now. He might be able to top 8 more consistently going forward if he's keeping game 5s against Lores and beating some huge players. So we'll definitely see more from them. Sack going to game 5 also against Lores.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of game 5s in this event. And definitely a bunch of eyes to keep an eye on, especially if they get their visas and they're able to go to the U.S.
Yep.
NAEU is gonna be very scary, but
it's a rough process for these guys. I know because I've been helping them a lot.
Yeah.
And a couple of other people I've worked with too, working on their paperwork. But especially just coming from some of these South American countries, they have a rigorous process to be able to travel. Even if they made it to the Royale, sometimes they might not even be able to go because they have legal issues of not being able to. But a lot of your main actors have gotten their paperwork done. You will see them at a LAN event, but hopefully some of these up and comers that we're seeing, like Ray and Sipe, and there's plenty of others in top 32 will be able to show out to a LAN event. And C definitely huge.
I think C can top 5 more consistently with how they're doing. But no, I mean. That was the ones event that happened, and now South America's been keeping an eye on 2s because they want to really focus on 2s this year. They haven't been really placing that well on 2s, and the highest at a 2v2 event. You're seeing a lot more unique teams. You're seeing Lores kind of Power Lopez. Power and Lopez have kind of teamed ever since Lopez has been unbanned. Then you have them and West, and then Fiend and Hughes. Fiend and Hughes, I think it's been more of a consistent team. But then looking on the loser side, you're seeing Reckon News, which is fairly new if I
Reckon News?
Yep, and then you see Sack and Reaper Black and Kairos and Akuma, which I really haven't seen a whole lot of Kairos and Akuma, but they got top 8. So props to them, But you're seeing still the consistent teams of Lores, kinda, Fiend, Hughes, Vem, and West, and Power Lopez being a new one. Being consistent, which is a good thing and a bad thing.
Yep.
It means that they're still good, but are they being challenged enough to win doubles?
Yep. And that's something I also want to point out in this bracket too. We see a lot of 3-0. We see a lot of 3-1. We only have one 3-2, and that's in winners final with Fiend and Hughes. But pretty much the rest of this was very uncontested gameplay.
Yeah.
It was 3-1, 3-0. Maybe the games were close, but looking at it here, they weren't close. It was a 3-0, it was done. So it's definitely something to pay attention to with the 2 scene.
Yeah.
Because it might be a shutdown show out with a lot of this, with a lot of their with a lot of their teams. What I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, South America is known for surprising us, so we'll definitely see how it goes. But
I might be dogging it right now, but they go to LAN and maybe it'll be top 8 too.
They'll wipe everything.
Maybe we'll just wipe everybody.
Laura's in kind of a demon team. I cannot. So there's still demon teams. I wonder how these other regions are going to really adapt to South America, because I feel South America is number 1 right now, and you have too. NA is 2nd and EU is 3rd. I don't
think South America is
and I think NA and EU is a very big controversial pick, but NA has more consistent, good, like skill level based players in top 16, top 32, top 8, rather than EU. EU is more top 8. But either way though, I mean, the highest did a very big event. Props to them. I love seeing them do very, very well, and seeing South America grow a lot more. But that's kind of all the community events that have happened. When it comes down to officials and any other events coming up for the next week, because these will be weekly, we'll go over the week. Basically next weekend, next week.
Next time we record.
Yeah, next recording we'll be going over the Devils events happening for Springs, which will happen this upcoming weekend for us. But
May 3rd, 4th, and 5th, you've got NA, EU, South America, and Southeast Asia that are going to be duking it out over a 2v2 event. We're going to see pretty much how that goes. That's pretty much the main thing that we're going to be talking about tomorrow. Not tomorrow, but next week, because that's pretty much the only event that's happening. We don't usually community events. We don't try to interrupt majors. We steer clear with any other events that are happening, especially directed by BMG. We steer clear. So I'm sure throughout the month we'll have more community stuff going on. But this is definitely going to be an awesome event to look at, because 2v2 comparative to 1v1 has less events this year. And it's not that 2v2 has less events than they've had in the past, because they have the same amount of 2v2 that they had last year, but there's more 1v1 right now.
Yeah.
So it's more like everybody is focusing on 1v1, and I'm really excited to see if people have been able to keep up their 2v2 abilities. And we'll definitely see some 2v2 community tournaments coming out in the next couple of months too, because all of that's in the plans. We're definitely going to focus on a bit of 2v2, especially right before mid-season championships, which is CEO Daytona. We will be there, and Brawlhalla will be there. That's the mid-season. That's a huge LAN event for us. So
yeah, and I'll be working there, so you guys will see me there, and it's gonna be a fun event. CEO is kind of one of those events that are very good for the FGC. So, but with that being said, though, I mean, we're gonna have some amazing events. Doubles will be very unique. Definitely keep an eye on some of the newer teams that are being made, because some of those newer teams will go crazy and they will surprise you. So, but with that being said, is there anything that we should bring up before we go ahead and cut it before next week?
I think we pretty much got it all together. Just make sure to check out the main Brawlhalla channel. I'm sure y'all will be watching because you want your viewership rewards, but make sure to check it out there. That's what they're going to be doing it. And then make sure to subscribe, like, and throw your notification bell on this channel, because we're going to be doing this a lot. We're going to be here every week. We're going to stay committed, and we're going to talk about esports and make it concise for you guys. I know this is probably a longer video than we wanted it to be. We're going to try to shoot for like that 15 to 20 minute mark on the videos, to make sure that we don't become podcast length, right? But this one we had to cover a little bit extra, just because this is our first time really going over esports. But make sure to tune in next week. It'll be somewhere in the middle or the end of the week that we'll post these, and make sure to watch the 2v2 event this weekend.
Yeah, for sure, and definitely keep an eye out. If there's different things you want us to go over, let us know in the comments too. We'll review whatever we can, and if there's a certain Brawlhalla like situation or something that pops up that you guys want us to talk about, we can talk about it.
Oh yeah, it doesn't have to be only esports. We're definitely cool to talk about all kinds of stuff, because we're around. So, but anyway, that's gonna be it. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys on the flip side, guys. Talk to you guys later.
See ya.